Hello, Jag Nation. Each and every week during the football season, we bring you insight into the Jaguar football program. Coach Basil enters his fourth season at Flower Mound, coming off an impressive 8-3 record and an undefeated district championship in 2018. You can subscribe and share this on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker.com, that's Spreaker.com, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and soon on iHeartRadio. This is presented by the Flower Mound Jaguar Football Booster Club. Jag Nation Football with Coach Basil starts now. I'm John Piper, and each and every week we sit down with head coach Brian Basil to talk all things Jaguar football. This broadcast is presented by the Jaguar Booster Club. You can subscribe on Apple iTunes. Find us on your iHeartRadio app. Listen to us on Apple CarPlay in the car or wherever you find your podcasts. And now I'm pleased to be joined live by head coach Brian Basil. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Man, excellent. What I'm really looking forward to, Coach, I monitor the weather for all these games that we report on, and you probably know this better than I do. There's a cold front moving in tonight. The sooner the better, and we're supposed to get some real football weather starting tonight and rolling into this week.
We are ecstatic about that. I'll believe it when I see it because they've promised that weather, I think, for a while now, and it hasn't happened. But it looks like tomorrow is going to be a reality. So that'll definitely give us a spark, I'm sure.
Well, Coach, we've talked about it almost every week, especially preseason before the first game, how the players and the coaches and the trainers deal with this heat. It's been 95 to 100 most days, field turf. It gets probably another 10 or 15 degrees. And it's got to be a welcome. I know there's some hydration, some cramping that's been going on. But, this time of year, October football, we roll into the heart of the district play. It's an exciting time of year there for Jag Nation.
Yeah, October is really where you get into that important stretch of your schedule where you've got to continue to play well and continue to improve. The later on the year goes, we told all of our teams, and Coach Beatty used to always talk about this when I was with him at MacArthur, but the teams that continue to get better deep in the season are those teams that don't get tired of playing football. And every week we go along, especially when you see some things come together, it's really exciting. When you talk about it in October and fall weather coming around, I grew up in the Midwest, so always really appreciated those change of seasons and when the leaves start changing colors and you get that little bit of crispness in the air. It really always coincided with football season. And so I know we don't get much of the change in fall colors around here, but at least when the temperature gets out of the mid 90s like it's been, and you get a little bit that cooler weather, we always kind of laugh about when you start getting the sweatshirts out for practice that's always a good time of year.
And it makes the tailgating a lot more fan friendly. I know a lot of tailgate there, especially for the home games coming up this Friday. It should make the tailgating a lot more palatable, and a lot more fans will probably want to come out and join that. Well, Coach, you join us from the field house where you really kind of your home away from home during football season, especially on Saturdays and Sundays. You're working on continuous improvement, always trying to tweak things each and every week. How's the film sessions been this week and the player meetings gone this weekend? And, coming off a 55-0 shutout victory, I wouldn't call it business as usual, big time win for the Jaguars. But what have you learned from this weekend looking at film and heading into this week's game?
Well, always opportunity to look at some good positive things and address those and make any corrections is fun watching film. We had a lot of guys that got to play on Friday night, so and really get a significant playing time. So the guys that aren't typically able to watch, they come in on Saturdays and they're able to watch themselves and see themselves, and that's always fun. It's fun for our guys to get to see, those guys that are key role players for us and just, critical to our success in any way that they contribute and get to see getting some productive playing time and really doing well. We had some younger guys that got to play. Andrew Moss is a sophomore running back for us, and so he got some significant playing time the other night, and you're excited for him because you get to see some of the things that he's capable of doing, and excited for the future and seeing some of those guys get some work and get that experience. So that's always good to do that. And then getting them out of here and then getting work on putting the Nimitz game plan together.
Well, it's a little like deja vu. Last year, this time a couple weeks ago, the Prosper loss, you lose to Prosper a couple weeks ago. You tighten some things up, come up with a big win, against Louisville, and then obviously even a bigger win this past weekend. So you win 2 in a row. You got to be feeling pretty good about the direction of where the program's headed.
Yeah, it's good to see the kids really come together from that. Again, that Prosper game was a game that we felt like we didn't play Jaguar football. I remember last year with the Prosper game, we came in and showed them that Betty White Snickers commercial where the whole theme where you're just not yourself, when you're hungry, and like, man, we weren't ourselves in that Prosper game, and really kind of a little bit again that this game this year. A couple weeks ago, we came out and it just didn't get off to a great start, and after that week, felt like there's some things that we really needed to address if we wanted to get better, and that's just, I think every team goes through that, and I think really at some point in time in the season, you got to have one of those kind of reality checks, and you prefer not to have to do that after a loss, but sometimes that may be what it takes, and we played some pretty good football after that, and we had played some good football before that too, so I think it just gives kids more and more confidence about what they're capable of doing, especially when you can come back after a loss like that. Of course, you had a great game a couple weeks ago, and it felt like it came out Friday night, and you always get concerned going into the game where after a big win like we had against Louisville, you don't want there to be any letdown, and it was a road game. We had a little bit of a weather delay there at the beginning with lightning in the area, so we started about 45 minutes later. So the kids being able to sit and handle that and showing some maturity really was key. And we got out there and got stopped on defense and got the ball to offense, scored in 2 plays, and we got on a roll pretty quick. So I was glad to see that we came out with an intensity and a focus to play at a high level, and we gotta keep doing that. That's the goal. There's a bar and a standard that we have set, and we want to go out and reach that every time we go out and play.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Irving game. You mentioned the delay, the weather. You come out and Blake Short strikes early to Reed Touchstone, a 12-yard pass to get you on the board, and obviously from that point on, you just never look back. I ended up winning the game 55-0, and like you mentioned, it was great to get some reserve players in, because in this game of high school football, you never know when you might have a player that has to sit out a game for a concussion or gets a little ankle injury or something like that. And we talk about it all the time, next man up at any level. So it's good to get those guys in and get some reps, because you never know deep down in district play or playoffs where their number might be called. Yeah,
absolutely. It's those are all important things, and it's also the guys. I'm so proud of our team and the leadership on our team, because we've got guys that they care about each other. So they know that, man, sometimes when their backup gets a chance to play in there, those guys are as excited on the sideline to see some of their success, because they know they come out to practice, they work hard, and some of them may just have a role as a starter on special teams or whatever the case may be. But to be able to get out there and contributing to the game is fun for them to watch, and so it's good to have games like that.
Well, you end up racking up 430 yards of total offense, another great outing by your offense. But one number that kind of stood out to me, Coach, is Irving had 60 plays to your 49. It's hard you see that, and then you look at, well, they didn't even score points, so, hey, hats off to the defense.
Yeah, defense did a good job, and Irving's they've got a freshman quarterback there. They've got some young guys. They've got a sophomore left tackle who's going to be a really, really good player. And so the guys that are going in and still a young team, and Coach Del Santos doing a good job of getting the program philosophy implemented there. But those guys have a good scheme and they're well coached, and they were able to put together a couple drives, get some first downs. We had to make a couple stands there in the red zone, and even right there at the end of the game, to preserve the shutout. It was fun to see those guys on defense playing hard and with the desire to make the plays to get a stop to keep the shutout on the board. That was something they were motivated to do, and it's hard. It's hard to do 6A football, and our offense. We had some big plays. So I think out of 48 plays, I think 24 of them resulted in first down. So really efficient on offense and going and catching well. And Pierce had some big runs. Offensive line blocked well. So those things all contributed to that.
Yeah, let's break it down a little bit. Blake Short, very efficient, 9 of 14, 169 yards and 3 TDs. But here's a number. Your reserve quarterback, number 12, Parker Clark. 6 for 6 and 52 yards. You have to be impressed with his performance.
Yeah, Parker's, of course, he's a key guy at receiver for us, and he came up through our system as a quarterback, and so being able to get in there and keeping him in a groove there to run the offense and go in there and execute some things. This was a real positive for us.
And then you mentioned, obviously, your go-to guy in the backfield, Pierce Hudgens, only 9 carries, 77 yards, averaged almost 9 per carry. But then his backup, Andrew Moss, 15 touches, 91 yards, almost got 100 yards there. So you could see what he could do on the ground a little bit as well.
Yeah, Andrews, we're really excited about him. He was as a freshman guy, really came along last year, had a great off season. He's really outstanding in the weight room, and really hardworking kid. And I think we were pleased to go in and see him really get some significant carries. And when you're able to do that in a game, he's played in a couple games before and got some spot carries, and he's very capable. And so you get a guy like that in there, and the offensive line, they're used to having a guy like Pierce back there, and having a new guy kind of gets them focused a little bit too, and say, hey, let's get some holes developed for this guy so he can get some carries and get his feet wet. He got in there and did that Friday night.
And, playing with the lead, you didn't have to throw the ball as much, but you get a lot of receivers in the game. You distribute the ball well. Reed Touchstone with 2 catches, 1 TD. Reese Carter, 2 catches, 1 TD. Parker Clark, 1 catch, 1 touchdown. Then also a couple other players got in there and touched the ball. One here that jumps out, Caden Basil, 3 catches, 15 yards, some nice possession receptions. You're able to work in Caden. What did you have to say to him after the game?
Yeah, I was real proud of him. It's fun seeing him in there. One thing that was pretty special about that is we played over there at Irving School Stadium there, which, of course, coming from MacArthur, altogether coached there 13 years. So, he one of his first games over there, he was 1 year old, and growing up and coming to a lot of games over at that stadium. Of course, you play home games there at MacArthur, but you played Irving or Nimitz. There are times that you're going to play maybe as a visitor team. So you're going to play there at least 6 times during the year, and add that up over a 13-year period. I've got a lot of great memories over there at that stadium. So it's fun to walk in there with them, be in a locker room. We kind of talked before the game about having some flashbacks of some games down there. And, it's one of the same things we talked about earlier in the year, but, he's a senior now, and that goes by so fast, and enjoying every minute and being able to go back there and think about, man, it really doesn't seem like that long ago for me when he was would come out there after the games, and he'd come down there with the plastic football he had caught from cheerleaders throwing up the stands, and just, running around out there and throwing with them and kind of enjoying that time after a game. And so, seeing him catch a ball over there. He had, I think, an 11-yard reception, a couple other little handoffs there that kind of our little pop pop jet plays, and speed sweeps. But that was fun. That was a fun experience to be over there with them and get a chance to see that.
Yeah, real memorable, not only with this team, but, some father and son time as a coach. We talked to several coaches that have the opportunity to coach